Hey guys, Otwa here, bringing you my purple Musketeer deck for the BT6 meta. And in case you're wondering why my voice is like that, I got a flu, so I hope you're okay with that. I just really wanted to finish this deck real quick, so yeah, I finished it over the last few days before the release even started, so yeah, let's get right into it. Starting off with our babies, I play 2 copies of Tsunamon. His effect is that during your turn, once per turn, when you trash a card in your hand using one of your effects, trigger draw 1. So this procs whenever you use cards like, let's say for example, Impmon from the new set, because he trashes 1 card to search a 3 Musketeers or 7 Great Demon Lord from your trash. Whenever you use Labramon, Ogremon, all that stuff, even your Tamer, Saran maybe trashes a card when you use their effect. So yeah, Tsunamon gets procced by a lot of cards in this deck, so that's why I run that too. Then I run 3 copies of Digimon. The reason I run Digimon is because he's still arguably the best purple level 2 in my opinion at the very least. And the reason for that is because his undeletion effect is that you draw 1 and then you trash 1 card in your hand. This allows you to first of all generate card advantage, of course, to get to your Beelstarmon and Gundramon and all the other cards that you need faster. And also, he allows you to trash option cards or Gundramons that you don't need, for example, or any Musketeer card that you don't need in your hand right now, to set up your Beelstarmon plays. So yeah, really useful because of that. Next up, for the main deck, I play 4 copies of the new BT6 Impmon. The reason we play this Impmon is obviously, well, because it's the main searcher for your 7 Great Demon Lords and 3 Musketeer cards in your deck when they are in your trash. So when they're trashed, they're not gone forever. And you don't need to, like run 4 mats. Like I remember in like the 1.0 meta, people ran like 3 or 4 mats just to be able to get their stuff out of that trash again. But yeah, like Impmon is essentially a way to get your Beelstarmons back from your trash, and also essentially replace it with a different Musketeer card. So the best theoretical scenario is you trash 1 card in your hand, which in this case is either a Gundramon or a 7-cost option card. You take the best one out, now you got a Beelstarmon, and you also have stuff in your trash to use with said Beelstarmon. So pretty useful combo in my opinion, and yeah, just useful. Also a target to digivolve your Beelstarmon onto, so yeah. Next up, 2 more Impmons, but this time it's from BT2. The reason we play it is because we do want to trash as much as possible to set up our Beelstarmon plays. So, of course, we're playing 2 of the BT2 Impmon because our deletion effect is trash the top 3 cards of your deck. And also, again, another Beelstarmon target in case we have to use it to get rid of like a blocker or something. Next up, I play 2 copies of Sunburnmon. What Sunburnmon does is that when he's attacking, you may trash 1 option card in your hand to gain more memory. In the set that it came out in, aka BT4, he was not really that good, in my opinion, because like in most decks you want to keep your deletion options in your hand to proc them. Like before there were like no cards like Beelstarmon that just said, oh yeah, I'm just gonna use my option card for the trash. But yeah, now Musketeers, Sunburnmon actually sees play, so yeah, that's why I run 2 of them. Next up, I play 2 copies of Labramon. A little dirt there. Yeah, 2 copies of Labramon. Its on-play effect is exactly the same effect as Digimon, which means that you trigger draw 1, and then you trash 1 card in your hand. So again, helps to generate card advantage, and also lets you trash an option card in your hand to set up your Beelstarmon plays, and it also procs your Tsunamon. So yeah, again, really useful card. For our last level 3, I played 2 copies of Digimon in the new meta because of the starter decks that come out this Friday. Or at least in Europe and I believe Latin America it is. Yeah, at least in Europe. I'm just gonna say Europe, I don't know about Latin America right now, but in Europe, we're getting the starter decks in 2 days. This is recorded on Wednesday, in case this goes up on any other day. There's a card called Memory Boost, or ever. Okay, in BT6 we already get some Memory Boost, but in the starter decks we get Memory Boost for all colors, which means that every deck has the potential to run some form of a memory gaining option card. So yeah, cards like Gazimon, Chumon, Terriermon, the new Modoki Botamon. I don't know what the red and yellow version are called, if they even have one already, but yeah, cards like Gazimon are just important right now. So yeah, it just shuts down memory gain from anything that's not a tamer effect. So yeah, gotta run that for stuff like the memory boost cards. Next up for level 4s, I play 4 copies of Deputymon, and before you ask why it's a black card and not a purple card, it's because this deck is mostly a hard play deck, so similar to stuff like Megazoo in a sense. We just run a small 12 card rookie support engine just to be able to generate draws with our babies, and also to just have like little hits in our opponent's security, or in the case of Gazimon, of course, to shut down memory gain. So yeah, in most cases we're just gonna hard play our Digimon, which is why we play Deputymon, of course. And Deputymon is a Musketeer support card, in the sense that it has the effect that on play, you reveal the top 4 cards of your deck, add 1 Digimon card with 3 Musketeers as type, and or, which means that you can pick either of the options. And or 1 option card with a memory cost of 7 among them to your hand. Trash the remaining cards. So let's say, for example, you flip up a Beelstarmon and 3 option cards. You take the Beelstarmon. You can either choose to trash the entire rest, or take one of the option cards with them with you. So yeah, really, really good effect if you, of course, flip up something. And even then, being just able to trash stuff is pretty useful in my opinion, because this deck interacts with the trash a lot. Its secondary effect is that during your turn, he can Digivolve into a Digimon card with 3 Musketeers as type, so that means either Beelstarmon, Gundramon, or Magna Kidmon, even though we don't really run Magna Kidmon, but in case you do want to run him, I just felt like mentioning him. For an evolution cost of 6, ignoring the Digivolution requirement, so you can just warp into any of the 3 Musketeers, but he mostly just Digivolves into Gundramon or Magna Kidmon. Our last black level 4 is 2 copies of Mechanorimon. As you can see, he's a blocker, obviously, and in my opinion, he is probably the best blocker in the game, especially against decks like Rookie Rush, because he cannot attack, but that's not the point. His opponent's turn effect is what's really important about him, which is that when he deletes an opponent's Digimon in battle, i.e. he blocked it, so yeah, he blocked it. He just restands himself if he survives. So as long as your opponent has Digimon with 5000 DP or lower, he just keeps restanding. So you just have a one blocker army in a way. So really, really good blocker. And since we do have ways to bring him out of the trash, just makes him even better. Now for our purple level 4s, I play Ginkakumon Promote and Ogremon, as well as 2 copies of Beelstarmon. The reason we play Ogremon is because of its on-play effect. When you play Ogremon, you trash 1 card in your hand, i.e. procs your Tsunamon, and lets you trash an option card that you don't want to use right now, to set up Beelstarmon, of course, to delete a level 4 or lower Digimon. So essentially it has the same effect as your Beelstarmon. This is why I am somewhat considering to cut Beelstarmon, because he's just easier to proc, but yeah, like, it's still a really good effect, especially since you can get him out with your Zwart to proc that effect, so yeah. Then we got Ginkakumon Promote, which has Rush, which means that when he's played, he can just attack immediately. And he also has the on-play effect, which is not really important in this build, because we do not run the Ginkaku package. You can place Ginkakumon or Ginkakumon from your trash to its Digivolution source in any order. And if you place both, you draw 1 and gain 1 memory, effectively making them a 5 cost. So yeah, but this effect is, as I said, is not really that important for this build. And we play Valmon because he's a 6000 DP blocker. In the current meta of BT6, there's just a lot of cards that get rid of 5000 DP Digimon cards. Even in BT5, there was, like, for example, Shotmon, which just deleted 2 or more. Like, just, well, standard is like 2, you know, with the first Shotmon DX setup. But in a lot of cases, he just deletes all of your 5000 DP or lower Digimon. And you just really want to prevent stuff like that. So yeah, that's why we're running Beelstarmon twice. So yeah, that's it for our level 4s. Starting with our level 6s. Yes, I did not forget about the level 5s. We do not run any level 5s in this deck. I play 4 copies of Beelstarmon. The reason I play Beelstarmon is, of course, this is a Musketeers deck, and also because it's just a fantastic new card from the current set. What Beelstarmon does is that, first of all, it reduces its play cost by 1 for every 3 Musketeers Digimon card, or 7 cost option card with a memory cost of 7 in your trash. So let's say, for example, theoretically speaking, you have 12 Musketeer cards, i.e. Digimon and option card in your trash. You can play Beelstarmon for free, and yeah, that makes her on-play effect so much better. On-play effect is that when you play Beelstarmon, you can return 1 option card with a memory cost of 7 from your trash to your hand, and then you can play a option card with a play cost of 7 from your hand without paying its memory cost. So essentially, Beelstarmon can copy, like in quotation marks, copy the effect of an option card in your trash. So for example, if she has at 0 cost, you can play your Nailboat for free to bring out cards like, for example, Digimon Promote. Because Digimon Promote has Rush, you get an extra hit in with that, which can really save you a game. So yeah, she's just really fantastic. Just allows you to use the option cards for removal, or to just generate a ginormous board if you have several further low play costs. So yeah, and she also has a nice interaction with Sword that I'll talk about once we get to him. So yeah. Next up, our last purple level 6 is 1 copy of Beelstarmon. As I mentioned earlier, we play at least 1 copy of him. If you prefer to play one more Gundramon, that's up to you. Or if you want to play Magna Kidmon, again, that's up to you. But I wouldn't play Magna Kidmon at more than like 1 or 2 in this build, since he is not really that useful other than the security attack +1. But yeah, what he does is that if you have 10 or more cards in your trash, your Digimon can digivolve into him for a memory cost of 4, ignoring digivolution requirements. So again, a Digimon that just warp digivolves, which is pretty useful in the type of deck that it is. And when he digivolves, you just delete one of your opponent's low 4 low Digimon. This is why I said that Ogremon is essentially a semi-copy of his effect, so that's why I'm considering to come out for a 4th Gundramon. Speaking of which, our last 3 level 6s are 3 copies of Gundramon. Gundramon is a blocker, of course, and that's, again, really useful, just having a big blocker. And his digivolving effect is also really good, which is that when you digivolve into him, you reveal the top 5 cards of your deck. And then you may use 1 option card with a play cost of 7 from among them without paying its memory cost. And let me quickly check. I haven't read that effect in a while because I mostly just use the memory cost effect, since in other cases the field's just empty. Yeah, if you don't use an option card with this effect, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with a play cost of 4 or less. So, I mean, if you completely whiff, you at least get rid of like a rookie or something. So at least that's something. But yeah, he's mostly used to just generate more trash and just use option cards for free that were flipped up with that effect. For our level 7s, I play 3 copies of Sword. What Sword does is that when he's digivolved, he trashes top 3 cards of your deck. Again, really useful to get your option cards in your trash, or just set up his own effect. And then you may play 2 purple or black Digimon cards of a play cost of 8 from your trash without paying their memory cost. And this is, again, really useful for cards like, for example, even your Impmon to get your Beelstarmon out of your trash, your Labramon to get a draw and trash. You can use it to play more Deputymons to generate more trash and get some Musketeer cards in your hand. You can use it to get your Mechanorimons out of your trash to start building up a defense. You can play Ogremon to delete something from your opponent. You can play Digimon Promote to get another hidden in case you have 6 or more memory, so if you don't pass a turn. Again, Viamon, same situation as Mechanorimon, just Mechanorimon is a better target. Yeah, it's just really, really good. Its secondary effect is where I mentioned the interaction with Beelstarmon. What he does is that when you attack with him, you can return 1 level 6 Digimon card from his Digivolution source to your hand to delete an unsuspended 12 cost Digimon from your opponent. And the reason that is useful is not because of the deletion. I mean, of course, that is also useful, but it's because you get your Beelstarmon back to your hand. And if you have a low cost Beelstarmon, you can just play it again. So, yeah, really, really nice. You just play the Beelstarmon, get your option cut off, then you plop a Zordon there, get some Digimon out of your trash, and in this situation, you have a potential of getting out 4 Digimon total. And next turn, you could essentially repeat that with your Beelstarmon. So, yeah, really good card in this build. But the reason I only play it at 3 is because we run 2 copies of Millenniumon. The reason we run Millenniumon is because there's a nice little deck called Black Royal Knights, which does prevent deletion. And that is a big no-no for Musketeers, because we do like to delete our stuff. What Millenniumon does is that when it digivolves, you can return one of your opponent's Digimon to the bottom of their deck and trash all of their Digivolution cards. And yeah, that's just really useful to get rid of stuff like Craniamon, which is undeletable. So yeah, that's the most of the reason why we play this card. Its secondary effect is that on deletion, if this card had Digivolution cards, you can just play it for free again. So yeah, in general, just a really good card. I feel like he's somewhat underrated nowadays, but I would definitely play him in Musketeers in case you do play against a Black Royal Knight deck. That's it for our Digimon. Now starting off with our Tamers, we play 2 different Tamer cards. 1 copy of Mad Ishida for BT2 and 1 copy of Sora and Mimi from the latest set. You probably already know what Matt does. He's a generic memory tamer, meaning that if you have 2 or less memory, he just sets you to 3 memory automatically. And its on-play effect is that he returns a purple card or purple Digimon or option card from your trash back to your hand. This is useful to get stuff like your Beelstarmon back from the trash, for example, or just any combo piece that you're missing right now. So yeah, pretty useful. Also, just, you know, like fly bullets or other removal cards that you cannot play because you have Ivory and Beelstarmon already on the field or in your trash right now. So yeah, what Sora and Mimi do is that at the start of your turn, if your opponent doesn't have a level 4 or lower Digimon, you gain 2 memory, which can be pretty useful against decks like Security Control, which don't really play that many level 4 or lower Digimon. So yeah, pretty useful. It doesn't come up in the Security Control deck that I play as much, because the one I'm gonna play plays a few level 4 or lower cards, but I'll explain that when I get to that deck before once it's finished. But still good to generate memory. In total, if you have both of them on the field, you can generate up to 5 memory. And their secondary effect is that during your turn, when one of your purple Digimon attacks, you can suspend this Tamer to draw 1 card and then trash 1. So essentially, again, Demi Meramon's effect. It also procs it to the 1, so that's the reason we play it. Next up, for our option cards, we play 4 copies of Fly Bullets. What Fly Bullet does is essentially the same as Trump Sword, but better in my opinion, because it has a far larger range of what it can actually delete than Trump Sword. But in return, Trump Sword can potentially delete level 7 cards. So yeah, we still play Trump Sword in this, but I'll go over that later. But yes, Fly Bullet deletes one of your opponent's level 6 or lower Digimon. And also, if you have a Musketeer on the field, you can just play it without color requirements. So let's say, for example, you have Gundam on the field and no other purple cards, you can just play it. Now, for our next Musketeer option card, we play 2 copies of Gewaltschwärmer. What Gewaltschwärmer does is that when you play it, you delete all of your not the opponents. I keep saying that. It's not all your opponents. Delete all Digimon. So both yours and your opponents with playcost of 7 or less. So let's say if you have just a Beelstarmon and your opponent has just a large board of rookies or something, just plop it on the field and this entire board is wiped. So this is really useful if your opponent does, you know, build up a small board to like rush you. If you, like, for example, have like a Mechanoimon on the field or something. They want to get around it by like building up a large board and just building up like 6,000 DP Digimon to get around your Mechanoimon. Just plop the Gewaltschwärmer on the field. It does delete your Mechanoimon too, but at least your opponent's entire board goes up in flames with it. And again, it's a Musketeer card, so you can just play it if you have any Musketeer Digimon on the field. So if you have Beelstarmon on the field, you can just play this card. Our last Musketeer option card, emphasis on Musketeer, is 2 copies of Happy Ball Showering. The reason we play it is because of its pretty good effect in my opinion, which is delete all of your opponent's Digimon with the lowest DP. If your opponent just has 1 Digimon on the field, this essentially turns into a Gaia Force. And again, if you have a Musketeer on the field, you could just play it without color requirements. This is why we don't run any red cards in this build. By the way, I forgot to mention something about Gewaltschwärmer. Gewaltschwärmer does not activate in security, as you can see here. It adds itself to your hand, so that's the reason why we only play it twice. If it would activate in security, we might run it at free. Next up, for our other option cards that aren't Musketeer related, I play 3 copies of Trump Sword and 2 copies of Nailbone. Trump Sword, as I mentioned before, is essentially a worse version than Fly Bullet, so I just played at 3 instead of 4. But that doesn't mean it doesn't see play, because there are a lot of decks right now that do unsuspend themselves, like for example, Gabumon Bond of Friendship unsuspends itself, AG Garurumon unsuspends itself, even Jesmon unsuspends itself. So if your opponent just runs the security, not thinking about, like for example, Jesmon does Delicate Plan, so I can activate that. If they don't think about activating Delicate Plan, just run into it, they unsuspend themselves with Savior Hagrid's effect. Well, boom, Trump Sword, let's go. And also, yeah, like I said, it's useful to get rid of level 7 Digimon, so yeah. Yeah, the Nailbone is used to cheese out your level 3 and level 4 Digimon from your trash with Beelstarmon. Generate a very large board, so like say for example, if you have like 3 Beelstarmons and just 1 Nailbone in your trash, you could get out 6 Digimon if you have a low enough play cost on your Beelstarmon, so that is really, really good. And the security effect is essentially just a nerfed version of its effect, in the sense that it just plays a level 4 or lower Digimon. Or, well, I mean, I don't know if it's a nerfed version, but, you know, like, it's different in a way. Anyway, that's it for my Musketeer deck profile. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Hopefully without a flu that time. Bye.